Shuklam Bhasanam Vishnum Sashivannam Jadabhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavighnopashantaye. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Om Saraswatyai Namah. Om Saraswatyai Namah. Om Saraswatyai Namah. So today we will talk about a unique Prashna technique called as JamaKhol Prasna. So what are the reference tests for JamaKhol Prasna? We have a test called Jinendra Mala. There are other tests called as Sahadeva Arudam, Mahadeva Arudam, and other such tests which are published by Saraswati Mahal in Tanjavur. And now there are a lot of modern day authors. So 40 years back, we had somebody called Mr. Vaidyanathan from near Tiruchi, who had published a book. He had learnt JamaKhol from his guru. And now we have people like other popular astrologers with a lot of books available in the market. And the techniques of the JamaKhol are very simple once we understand it. But it requires a little bit of manual preparation also, right? So what are the components of a JamaKhol Prasna? Now, if I buy a camera, along with the camera, I get lot of other accessories. I get a lens, I get a flashlight, I get a battery, I get a memory card, I get a tripod, and so on. Similar to that, traditionally, we have our, for the time of the query, the normal position of the grahas. So we can use any software for that. We will use Jagannath Hora for our purposes, right? So now the normal position of the grahas is your camera. Then we need to identify something called as the jama grahas in the various signs. That is the lens of the camera. So that will give you the focus, the spotlight is put on using the lens of the camera, right? So without the lens to focus the camera, you will not get a clear picture. And you have multiple varying types of lenses. Similar to that, the jama grahas in various signs will give you the various results. Then the most important part of the camera is the battery. Without the battery, you cannot operate the camera. Like that, we have the Udaya, which has to be calculated. The most important part of the JamaKhol system itself is the Udaya. And then you have the Aruda, which we normally calculate in all Prashna. Similar to that, we will calculate it slightly different here in JamaKhol. Think of it as the flash bulb for the camera. Then what are the other hidden components in the camera? We have a SD card, where the memory card is there. Like that, we have the Surya VD and Kavip. So like how the SD card is inside, but without it, we will not be able to record it. It is secretive. The Kavip or Chatra will tell you the secrets of the question which the person is going to ask you. It will tell you the secrets of what the person is not telling you. So today's session, we will just go through the basics of JamaKhol Prashna. So we will try to understand how these are to be calculated, how these are to be understood. And over the next 3-4 days, I want you to create JamaKhol every day and have a chart ready for you for the next 1 week. And when we meet on the next class, we will talk about what issues you had in the class when you were doing it. Okay. So as I said, we will use Jagannath Hora for our calculations. Make sure that you have these settings set in the Jagannath Hora. So the Ayanamsha to be used will be true Lahiri, and sunrise should be the tip of sun's disk appears to be on the eastern horizon. And then if you create the chart for Chennai on Tuesday, May 4th at 7 o'clock in the morning, you should get a similar chart. If there is a variation beyond 1 minute, let me know and we will troubleshoot what is the problem. So now we will move into, before we come into the actual JamaKhol, right? To understand how the Jama grahas are formulated, we need to understand something called as Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra is nothing but the wheel of time, and more specifically, it shows the negative energies of the time. So we assign the wheel of time to the various directions. So we normally see the four cardinal directions: east, south, north, west. And then we have the interim directions, the Anglo directions: southeast, southwest, northwest, northeast, and the upward and downward directions. And each one of these direction has a associated devata. East is associated with Indra, southeast with Agni, south with Yama, southwest with Niriti, west with Varuna, northwest with Vayu, north with Kubera, northeast with Ishana, up with Ananta, and down with Brahma. Similar to this, there are also various Devis associated with each direction. There are multiple mantras which are associated for Kala Chakra correction and all, which we will not see now. We will just chant the directional mantra once and then we will proceed. Om Indraya Nama, Om Agnehe Nama, Om Yamaya Nama, Om Nairitye Nama, Om Varunaya Nama, Om Vayave Nama, Om Kuberaya Nama, Om Ishanaya Nama, Om Anantaya Nama, Om Brahmaya Nama. Now, if I have to represent this in a pictorially, we can see that how the various deities are associated to the various signs in this diagram. Now the next step in this is to associate the grahas to the various directions. So we all know sun rises in the east. So sun is a unique planet where for both Dik Chakra and Kala Chakra, Indra or east is the position. In Kala Chakra, southeast is ruled by Mars, Yama is ruled by Jupiter, southwest by Mercury, west by Varuna, northwest by Saturn, and north by Moon. Now this can be used in multiple ways. For example, what happens when I go and study sitting in south? Will I be able to study properly? Jupiter is there in south. That is wrong direction. Is it good for me or not? When we try to use it that way, that becomes Vastu. I have a water place in southeast. Is it good or not? That is Vastu. That we will have to determine. Okay. But that is not our objective today. We will use this to find out the yamas and jamas. So think we said the lens is the yama or jama. In a particular day comprising of from one sunrise to just before next day sunrise, the Vedic Vara, we have 8 yamas. So if we take a standard timing in India, right? If you take look at Ujjain or the central part of India, approximately every day will have 12 hours of sunlight, 12 hours of night time. So which means in a day of 24 hours, you will have 3 hours for every yama. Then we will use this yama for doing our day-to-day activities. So the yamas are fixed. How is the yamas are fixed? So we will start the yama from the Kala Chakra by using 3 to 6 a.m. for Rahu. And then some of the terminologies which we need to do. Dinamana is the length of the duration from sunrise to sunset. Ratrimana is the duration of the night time from sunset to just before sunrise of the night. And now we understand what is jama. So the dinamana is split into 8 parts, each one for approximately 90 minutes. The ratrimana is split into 8 parts called as jama. So if the duration of the day is say 10.5 hours, then duration of night will be 11 more than 12 hours. It will be 13.5 hours. So what will happen during the daytime, my each jama will be lesser in time, whereas during the night each jama will be more in time. This is an important principle which we have to keep in mind, because across the globe, different places during different time, you have periods during summer when day length is larger, night length is smaller, or during winter when day length is small and night length is longer. So dinamana, ratrimana has to be calculated, and accordingly you will have to find 8 parts. And there is an easy way to do this. At least for the dinamana, there is an easy way which you can do, see from the uh, Jagannath Hora and use it. Okay, right. So the next step is to, now that we know we have to find the we have found out the jama period. Now we need to figure out how to place the jama grahas in the chart. So when we are going to use the jama grahas, we have to associate the jama grahas into multiple rasis. So the inner rasi diagram shown here is the traditional chart which we have, right? And this is shown for May 4th approximately. Now what happens is, in JamaKhol, right? So we will put the inner grahas, the inner chart will be the standard graha chart, and outside all the chararasi and ubaya rasis we will put the grahas. The sthira rasis will not have a JamaKhol graha placed in them. There is a specific reason for that, which we will see down the line. Today, just understand, okay, I will draw a chart using pen and paper, and I will put JamaKhol grahas only in Chara and Ubaya rasis. Now, if we assume that the sunrise is at 6 o'clock and sunset is also at 6 o'clock, then we will assign the jama like this. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So now what happens, 6 to 6, the dinamana is actually 12 hours. So if I divide the dinamana by 8, I will get 90 minutes for. So 6, 7:30, 10:30, 12, 1:30, 3 o'clock, 4:30 will be the split up. So we will always start from Meena. So Meena will have 6 to 7:30. Then we will ignore Kumbha because that is a Sthira Rasi. Then we will go into Magara. So that will be assigned 7:30 to 9. Then we will go into Dhanur. That will be assigned 9 to 10:30. Then once again, because Vrichika is a fixed sign, we will ignore Vrichika. We will go into Tula, assigned 10:30 to 12. Then we will go into Kanya, assigned 12 to 1:30. Then we will ignore Simha because it's a fixed sign. Assign 1:30 to 3 for Kadaga, 3 to 4:30 for Mithuna. Ignore Rishabha as it's a fixed sign. Assign 4:30 to 6 for Mesha. Now, the same thing is also applicable for the night time. So, if the sunset was at 6 o'clock, so night 6 to 7:30 will be Meena, night 7:30 to 9 will be Magara, night 9 to 10:30 will be Dhanur, night 10:30 to midnight 12 will be Tula, early morning 12 o'clock to 1:30 will be Kanya, early morning 1:30 to 3 will be Kadaka, early morning 3 to 4:30 will be Miduna, and just before sunrise 4:30 to 6 will be Mesha. So there will be no change. But if there is a split in the day, for example, sunrise starts at 5 o'clock and sunset is at 8 o'clock. So now the time is the Dinamana is 5 to 8, which means it is how many hours? Here you have 7 hours and then there you have another 8 hours. So it is 15 hours is the Dinamana, and the Ratri Mana will become lesser. Ratri Mana becomes just 9 hours. So you will have to accordingly reposition the timing, and in that case the slots will slightly vary. Okay. Now on any one day, right, if I take Sunday, the first slot will be ruled by sun. So the Jama for the day will be ruled by sun. So if on a Sunday the query was asked at 7 o'clock, I will put sun against Meena, and then I will go to the Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra we always go clockwise. In JamaKhol we will always go anti-clockwise. So after sun in Kala Chakra I have Mars. So I will put Mars in Magara. Then I have Jupiter, I will put Jupiter in Dhanus. Then I have Mercury, I will put Mercury in Tula. I have Chukra, I will put Chukra in Kanya. Saturn in Kadaga. Chandra in Miduna. Rahu in Mesha. So it is very simple. So you have to keep in mind the Kala Chakra that goes clockwise, and the JamaKhol will go anti-clockwise. Now what happens when the, okay, so now let's go to Wednesday. So Wednesday the first Jama will be ruled by Buddhan or Mercury. So we will put Mercury in Meena, and then we will start from Mercury and go clockwise. So Mercury, after Mercury you have Venus. So Venus will be put in Makara. After that Saturn will be put in Dhanus. Then you have Moon, which will be put in Tula. Then you have Rahu, which will be put in Kanya. Then you have Sun, which will be put in Kadaga. Mars, which will be put in Mithuna. Jupiter, which will be put in Mesha. Now let us take an example. So we always saw the first Jama in the day will be based on the Lord of the day. So on Tuesday it will start from Mars. On May 4th the sunrise was at 5:46 and sunset was at 6:24. So what is the Dinamana? Dinamana is 12 hours 38 minutes. You have here 14 minutes extra, 24 minutes there. So 12 hours 38 minutes. Now if I split this into 8, one Yama will come to 1 hour 35 minutes. Instead of if I split to 12 hours, it will be 90 minutes or 1 hour 30 minutes. Because it's 12 hours 38 minutes, we have 1 hour 35 minutes. So the various Yama will come from 5:46, 7:21, 8:56, 10:31, 12:05, 13:40, 15:15, 16:49 for the daytime. For the night time, now Ratri Mana is actually 11 hours 22 minutes. So it will differ. If the question is now asked at 7 o'clock, so we see under which slot it is. So it is in the first Jama. So we will put Mars against Meena or Pisces. Now, and we will go through the same order in Kala Chakra: Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Moon, Rahu, Sun. Right? So this is the chart for that, whatever we just saw. Right? Now, if in the same day the question was asked at 8 o'clock, now the Jama for the day Mars actually started at 5:46 to 7:21 in Meena. Between 7:21 to 8:56, now we have to put Mars in Magara. So when during the day, as the time changes, you are changing the starting position. So Meena is always first Jama, Magara is second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. So now 8 o'clock is in the second Jama. So I put Mars against the second slot, which is Magara. And then afterwards, I will follow the same Kala Chakra order and put the grahas here: Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Moon, Rahu, and Sun. Now, if instead of 8 o'clock, it is at 11 o'clock. Now, what happens? 11 o'clock comes in fourth Yama: 5:46, 7:21, 8:56, 10:30. 10:31 to 12:05 is fourth Yama. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth position of Tula will become the starting point for Mars. And then we will follow the same order: Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Moon, Rahu, Sun. Now let us look at a nighttime example. On the same day, we said nighttime is 11 hours 23 minutes. So the night Yama will be, you have to manually calculate 1824, 1949, 2140, 14, 2240, early morning 12:05, 1:30, 2:56, 4:21. If the question was asked at 1901, we are in the first Yama. So we will put it against Mars against Meena. If the question is asked at 21:45, so 21:45 is actually third Yama. So we will put Mars against Dhanus. So now let us see some more examples rapidly. Okay. So if for a Thursday, third Yama is running. So Thursday, Jupiter, we will put it into the third position of Dhanus. And then we will go through the remaining circle. If on a Saturday, fourth Yama period is running, when the query is asked, so Saturn will be put into the fourth position, and then we will start running the Yama. So this is the first part. Now this is the most important part, and this is the place where you will go wrong most of the time. So take the time, first calculate the Dinamana or Ratri Mana, identify which period is running 1 to 8, and then figure out the slot against which you have to put in the graha for the day, and then based on the day put that graha into that slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. Once you have put the graha in the slot, then go to Kala Chakra, take the other grahas in the clockwise order and put it in the anti-clockwise order in the jama positions. With the practice, if you do this for some 10 days, 15 days, you will be able to do it mentally yourself without looking into pen and paper. Okay, now we will go into the next part of the thing. So what is Udaya? By definition, Udaya means there are 24 Udaya in a day from sunrise till just before sunrise. So there is a set of manual calculations which you can do using sun position and day of month based on the standard Tamil day of the month from Masa Surya Shankranti. And that is slightly difficult. So you can say I will be able to do it, but it is still error prone. But with computers, with the Jagannathora, Udaya is nothing but Hora Lagna. That is the important point which you have to understand. So henceforth we will use Udaya or Hora Lagna interchangeably. So why are we looking at the Hora Lagna instead of the traditional Lagna? So Hora Lagna is closely linked to moon, and moon is mind or manas. So what is in the mind of the client who's approaching you? what is in the mind of the client regarding the question which he is asking you. All that is given by the Hora Lagna. You just can't do it with the graha. Can I use the moon alone and tell it? You can to some extent, but you need it to manifest in the Rasi. So for you to understand what is the actual situation which is manifested, we need the Bhava Chakra, which is the Rasi Chakra. So you are using the Hora Lagna to identify what is the problem. The next step after the Hora Lagna is Aruda. So the Aruda used in JamaKhol is differently calculated from the Aruda which is calculated in other tests. And this is a unique method which Sri Vaidyanath's Guru Arunachalam gave him. And it's a simple methodology. When the client comes in and he is asking you the question, you are anyhow putting a Prasna chart. You know the exact time of the chart. Take just the minutes of the chart. So there are 60 minutes in an hour. Assign 5 minutes to the various rasis like this and accordingly calculate the Aruda. For example, if the query was raised at 9:15 a.m., I will ignore 9 hours. I will take 17 minutes and say 5, 10, 15, and then 15 to 20 is in Kadaka. So my Aruda is in Kadaka. If the question was raised at say 12:42, so then I know that Dhanus is my Aruda. Or if now the time is 11:28, so then my Aruda is in Kanya. If the time now is 9:45, do I take Dhanus or do I take Magara? Exactly on the dot at 9:45, it will still be Magara. The moment even once again goes in, exactly at 9:45 it will be Dhanus. The moment it goes even once again over, it will be into Magara. With practice, you will be able to determine this properly. So you need to have an accurate computer time or a mobile time, so that when you are creating the Prasna chart, you are putting in the right time and you are able to identify the right Aruda, you are able to identify the right Udaya and so on. Then we come to the next component of JamaKhol, which is Surya Vidhi. So Surya Vidhi is based on the position of sun in the Prasna time. We identify another sign as the Surya Vidhi. So if sun is in Rishabha, Mithuna, Kadaka or Simha, then Mesha or Aries becomes the Surya Vidhi. If sun is in Vrichika, Dhanus, Magara or Kumbha, then Mithuna becomes the Surya Vidhi. If sun is in Kanya or Tula or Meena or Mesha, then Rishabha becomes the Surya Vidhi. On May 4th, sun was in Mesha. So Rishabha will be Surya Vidhi. Now today, Mesha, if it is in Rishabha, then if Surya is in Rishabha, then Mesha becomes the Surya Vidhi. For example, if we take July 10th or something, we will have Surya in Mithuna. So Mesha will become the Surya Vidhi. The next one which we have to look at is the Chatra or Kavip. Now this is a most important point. I told you this is the hidden secret, like how you have your SD card inside. Without the SD card, you will not be able to record anything. Whatever you are seeing the camera, it will go away waste, and it records and it tells you what is actually happening behind the scenes. as far as the person is concerned. So how do we do this? So we found out the Aruda, we found out the Surya Vidi, and we found out the Udaya. Now from Aruda to Surya Vidi, both signs inclusive, count and find the number. So in this example, Aruda is in Mesha, right? Because query was rated as 701. So 0 to 5 is Aruda will be here. The Hora Lagna or Udaya was in Rishabha. Just take it for the time being. Okay. So now where is Surya Vidi? Sun is in Mesha. So when Sun is in Mesha, Rishabha becomes the Surya Vidi. So SV or Surya Vidi is here in Rishabha. So Aruda to Surya Vidi 1, 2. Then we count from Udaya or Hora Lagna that number to arrive at the Kavipu or Chatra. So Hora Lagna Udaya 1, 2. So Kavipu KVP is here in Mithuna. So Kavipu is in the second house to Hora Lagna here, and that will show the hidden feature behind the query of the person with, or the hidden circumstances of the query which the customer has asked you. So far what we saw was the step by step approach to assemble the chart which we have seen here. So the internal chart is given directly by Jagannath Hora. The outer chart you have to put it based on the day and the time period. You will determine Aruda, Hora Lagna you are getting it, Surya Vidi you will have to determine, and then you will have to determine Kavip. Once you know this, the next step is to understand the basics. What are the Graha Karagas? What are the Rasi Karagas? What are the Bhava Karaga Tattvas? And so on. So what are the basics which we need to know? So in Jinendra Mala, the Muni calls out these 20 odd things which we have to know. What is the direction represented by a Graha, by the Rasi? What is the gender represented by the Graha or Rasi? Whether the Rasi is single or dual. What is the Varna or color of a Graha? So black is represented by which Graha? Blue is represented by Saturn. Yellow is represented by which sign? What is copper red? And so on. Then what is legs? Legs is whether it's a dvipada, whether it refers to somebody who's walking on two legs like a man or a chimpanzee, sorry, or a gorilla, or whether it's four-legged animal like a cow, or whether it's a goat or whatever, or whether it's multi-legged like a centipede or a spider and so on. Then what is the shape associated with the Rasi, with the Graha? Then horns of the animal, whether it has a big horn or a small horn. This was important in the olden days. Nowadays, we don't use that so much, but there can be possibilities which you can intelligently apply that. Then planetary rays or Rashmi. Rashmi is one of the most important concepts which has been given by the sage here. We will go into that, and there are multiple ways of how we can use the Rashmi. Then we have distance. So like how a graha can represent one amount of time, each graha also represents a distance. So how far away is the person from now? If the query is, you know what, my brother was supposed to come, he's saying that he's 100 kilometers away. Is he 100 kilometers away or is he nearer? Olden days, they didn't have phone to tell them. So they will ask somebody and then they will say, okay, now the time is this. So based on the Kavipa and based on the Aruda and Hora Lagna, you will say that, okay, they are at 200 kilometers, they'll come in another 4 hours or 6 hours. Then what is the age represented by a Graha? So this age is different from what we normally see. Then taste. Is it pungent, sour, astringent, and so on? We have seen all that, and we will use this differently. So if there is a bitter taste, does it represent Mars? If there is a sour taste, does it represent Venus? And so on. Then moles or scar. So based on this, you can figure out if a person is going to, if a person is who's approaching you, he has a mole on his right cheek. You can understand his planetary position using this mole on his cheek. Cheek is represented by a particular bhava. Cheek is represented by a particular sign. Cheek and the mole is represented by a particular graha, and you can create the chart just based on what you're seeing. Then left side or right side, should you take this side or that side? So instead of going right, should I take 3 left? Then brightness or the luminosity of the grahas. Then whether the graha is standing, crawling, sleeping, and how that will help you in answering some questions. The places represented by the signs and the grahas. We know that Mithuna represents bedroom. Guru represents Brihaspati, so studying, teaching. So you can look at a school. Day or night, is the sign day or night? Is the graha day or night? Based on that, you can figure out that if the day strong grahas are in night strong signs, then the graha is weak, and accordingly you can figure out your prediction. Then the timing. So we all know that sun represents 6 months, moon represents 1 muhurta, and like that. And how we link that with the planetary rays, the Rashmi, and we can say, okay, this particular situation will get resolved in so many days or not. Then Dhatu Moola Jiva. What is Dhatu? Dhatu is your minerals. Moola is your plants. Jiva is your living beings. So is the question around Dhatu Moola Jiva. So if somebody is coming and they are saying that I have a question about a theft, or I have a question about a loss. So is the person talking about a loss of a jewel? Is it about a loss of a person? Using the graha characteristics which are there at the point when the question is asked, you can figure out what is happening. Now this set of 19 odd points we will see in the next session.